integration with Salesforce, even though they are going to claim that it's very strong, but in general, it's very light, as well as it's going to have the same learning curve that you are going to experience with Marketo as well. And again, this is designed for slightly more enterprises. HubSpot is the SMB player. The major differences with HubSpot is that just like Marketo, it's going to have the integrated CMS as part of their layer, but then they are also going to be much richer from the sales customer service perspective as well.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. If you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series in which we review one of the vendor or the solution. And for today, we are going to talk about Marketo or Adobe Experience Cloud. So I'll dig right in, but if you're in the audience and joining for the first time, we are always a fan of this three-way conversation. So we are looking forward to your any sort of stories, comments that you might have. Please post them. I'll be covering them as I go through the review. On that note, I guess we have covered many different CRM systems. So here, Marketo is going to be very enterprise focus in general, and generally the kind of layers that we'd like to talk about from the size perspective, they are going to be small, mid-size, large, and then you have the startup as well, which was the first one. So generally we segment these systems across those lists, and each of these segmentation bucket that we have are going to have very different needs from the system perspective, whether you talk about CRM or any other category of the system. In general, for the CRM category, when you look at the systems that are designed for large category, they can accommodate a lot more business models, transactions, and that's exactly what Marketo is designed. Now, in terms of the CRM bucket, we cover many different perspectives. When we look at the CRM systems, some are designed for marketing, some are designed for sales-centric scenarios, customer service, call center, field service. All of these layers could be relevant for a CRM suite. So in general, for Marketo, this is a slightly more marketing-centric system. Their marketing automation system is very enterprise grade. And then there is another layer that you need to keep in mind when you look at the marketing automation system. Sometimes they are going to have a lot more overlap with the CMS. In this case, they do have that. There are only very few systems in the market that have that overlap. For example, let's say if you look at HubSpot. So with HubSpot, the way it is designed for all of those omni-channel scenarios where you are going to have far tighter connection with your CMS processes, and that requires natively built systems and processes. In general, even with the other systems, it might not be as much of an issue, depending upon how the CMS is designed, depending upon how the marketing automation system is designed. But in general, when you get that from one vendor, that makes it much easier. But when you look at the state of the companies, not always they will be able to replace their CMS, because they might have their own preferences in terms of which CMS they might want to use, because CMS generally have the dependency on SEO-centric issues and so many different things. So that's why the replacement of CMS along with marketing automation is slightly difficult. So now, depending upon the strategy, whether you can have that or not, but the real value that you are going to get from the Adobe and the Marketo is when you can combine all of these layers together for the enterprise use cases. So here, their overall positioning is going to be marketing automation. They also have GEM, which is your digital asset management. Then event functionality is going to be one of the strongest in general that we have available in the market. And events, they go much deeper. When you talk about use cases such as media, then you require the whole event management functionality. And the only systems where we have seen the event and event management functionality is either with the Microsoft Customer Insights, or we have seen this with HubSpot. But again, HubSpot is probably going to use a little bit of add-on. Now they have the advertising cloud as well, which is again available in only very few systems. For example, you are going to find this with Oracle. And then the personalization, the reason why personalization is here is because that piece falls under that CMS layer. The majority of the systems that we have in the market that are going to have personalization are going to be systems such as Optimizely, and then you have Bloomreach as well. I guess they have combined. And now with the consolidation happening in the market, in the CDP market, you are going to see a lot more use cases where CMS is combined with the personalization layer, and sometimes the marketing automation could be a piece of that as well. So Adobe has very specific architecture, and depending upon whether you can replace all of these pieces or not, that's what is going to dictate whether you are going to get value from this. So their background was very enterprise marketing automation, and then they have combined all of these layers when Adobe bought this. For example, the AEM product that Adobe has, that is going to be slightly more CMS offering, and they have combined these two together, along with many others such as your advertising as well as the personalization product that they have as part of their suite. But their suite is not going to be as complete as some of the other CRM vendors that we have seen with the other reviews. They are going to have a lot more elements such as your field service. They have call center. They have the sales side of things. In this case, Marketo is going to rely on some other CRMs that are going to be slightly more sales centric for the sales processes. So in terms of the competing technologies, we are looking at HubSpot is probably going to be the closest competitor because HubSpot is designed for marketing automation. Their sales processes are not going to be as heavy as some of the other options that we have in the market. But again, HubSpot is designed for more of the SMB use cases when you are going to ask for details among when you look at the workflow security, when you look at the global consolidation of different brands, that's where those are going to fall under your enterprise use cases, and they are probably not going to be there with HubSpot. So that's going to be one differentiation between these two. Active Campaign is probably smaller than HubSpot in terms of the size of the product, and they are going to have even less features compared to your HubSpot and Marketo. Again, depending upon how you look at it, generally enterprises are going to have a lot more requirements from the security, workflow, global consolidation, etc. The SMBs have very different needs. So any of the enterprise products, for example, let's say if you look at Pardot is a very enterprise product. Eloqua is a very enterprise product as well. Klaviyo is slightly more B2C centric product. B2C industries have very different processes in general. And then Braze is very B2C centric as well. They are a lot more into the real-time interaction, the media centric use cases that the other marketing automation systems might not be able to handle. They get into the whole customer engagement workflow that the other plain vanilla marketing automation might not be able to handle as well. Then you have Zoho. Zoho would be stronger in the other, layers of the CRM suite. They might not be as strong with the marketing automation, the whole advertising piece. In that, they might not be as strong. MailChimp would be slightly more marketing automation. Constant Contact is going to be very comparable to MailChimp as well. But when you compare with Marketo, there is not much of a comparison because these are designed for more of the startup centric companies. Marketo is a very enterprise grade system. Then you have some other smaller products such as your GetResponse, Omnisend, and MailerLite. They are going to be even smaller, designed to be more of the newsletter product, just when you have to send a couple of newsletters, then you would use something like this. But when you are going to have real enterprise needs, then you have to use something like the CRM comparison. If you compare this with other CRM solutions, Pipedrive, Salesforce, and Microsoft Dynamics are probably going to be comparison. But in general, Marketo is probably going to be used with these systems. I would be shocked to see this with Pipedrive. In general, Pipedrive is a very SMB product. It's not as installed in the enterprise space, but Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics is where you are going to find most commonly that either they are going to use Marketo or HubSpot is going to be the second most common. Maybe they might use Pardot as well. That's probably third. In some cases, they might have Eloqua, but now Eloqua is owned by Oracle. So companies, I don't know how many companies are going there anymore. We don't see them as often, but the other combinations are going to be most common, which is going to be Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics, and then Marketo or HubSpot are probably the industries where you are going to notice them is probably going to be media, tech, anything and everything that is going to be slightly more creative heavy industry, very heavy on marketing. That's where you are going to see Marketo a lot. SaaS, B2B, those are very common scenarios as well for Marketo. And just quickly about if you have never seen any of our reviews, we have published over 500 reviews now for different products. Generally, our approach is going to be that we rely on public information. That is going to be any sort of marketing claims, PR stories that we have. And then we correlate that information with product design analysis, customer stories, and then we look at the user reviews as well. So those are the things that we have utilized for this review too. Now, let's look at some comparisons briefly. And again, if you want to dig deeper into any of these products, we might have review available for all of them. The only thing you need to do is you simply need to Google or YouTube, Google on YouTube, I guess, that, okay, Pardot plus Elevate IQ or HubSpot plus Elevate IQ, Eloqua plus Elevate IQ, Active Campaign plus Elevate IQ. You might be able to find those reviews if you want to dig deeper into those. But this one is going to be for Marketo. So here, from Marketo's perspective, number one, this is going to be very enterprise grade use cases when you are trying to consolidate your global brands, when you are trying to consolidate maybe 10, 15, 20 different CRMs and brands and maybe CMSs. That's when Marketo is going to be really powerful. The biggest differentiator that they have is they have the integrated suite with CMS, JAM, as well as Advertising Cloud. When you might need these many components from the same vendor, there are only so few vendors in the market that can support that. Obviously, Oracle is going to be one of them. Other vendors may not have all of these capabilities. And then the webinar and event functionality, if that is critical for you. And again, Marketo is probably not going to have the operational and financial aspect of the events. This is primarily the lead capture and then doing any sort of engagement with those leads. That's where the scope of Marketo is going to be. If you're looking for slightly deeper operational capabilities in managing the whole workflow, maybe payment, maybe doing their ticketing, RSVP, etc., then you are looking at something like Microsoft Dynamics Customer Insights. They are going to have much deeper operational capabilities. And again, these operational capabilities are not necessarily ERP related. They still belong to CRM layer, marketing automation layer. So if you need that, then you need to go for that. But a lot of companies, the only thing they care for when they look at webinar or event capabilities, they only need the whole lead capture flow. They want to make sure this is going to reside in the same database, and then they should be any sort of campaigns and whatever insights they are going to need. That, if that is your scope, then Adobe Cloud or Adobe Marketing Cloud is probably going to be great fit for you. And again, this is the old name for this is Marketo. The cons that are going to be most noticeable is the UX, which is slightly dated. That you may have noticed on the previous screen. That is one con that most people point out. And then obviously it is going to be slightly more expensive. just because it is designed for those enterprise centric use cases. And then you are going to have substantial learning curve in general, just because the number of layers that the product has, it is designed for those enterprise use cases. So you might need a lot of consulting help, and that's where it becomes very expensive. And then the learning curve is going to be steep as well. So in general, the ideal fit for this is going to be any sort of enterprises that are consolidating many different brands, as well as the marketing automation instances across different divisions. That's where this is going to be a fit. Now I'm going to touch briefly on the other products as well. For example, Pardot, one of the advantages that you are going to have with Pardot is the integration with Salesforce. Even though Salesforce is going to claim that it is very well integrated because it is part of the same bundle, but in general their integration is very light, and for the most part the integration with your marketing automation is not as busy. The only thing you are going to expose is probably going to be just the contact database. That's all, and that's much easier to expose, and that's why companies are okay in using a marketing automation system from the external vendor. That is not as hard in general. So with Pardot, I guess that's going to be one benefit that you're going to have. In general, their workflow security, as well as the enterprise layers that they have built as part of their model, are far more detailed. And in general, when you are going to deal with issues such as GDPR, then you will need your workflow security to be much more. For example, let's say if you look at HubSpot is going to support maybe 3 layers of different permissions. That might be okay for SMBs, but that might not be okay when you have 5 different divisions. They have their own sort of departments, and they need different workflow security layers for that. That's where HubSpot is not going to be a great fit, and that's when your Pardot, Marketo, these products are designed for those enterprise use cases. The model is very customizable. In general, with Pardot, you are going to have the real SQL layer exposed. Not only you can customize or add as many custom attributes or the custom objects that you want to overlay on top of the existing operational model that you have. So you can do that. Plus, you can query. The whole query engine is very enterprise grade as well. Marketo, I don't know how strong that is going to be. Pardot is generally designed for much superior, technical use cases where you can build much richer segmentation as well as the audiences because of the querying capabilities that they have. So some of the cons from the Pardot perspective is the integration with Salesforce. Even though they are going to claim that it's very strong, but in general it's very light, as well as it's going to have the same learning curve that you are going to experience with Marketo as well. And again, this is designed for slightly more enterprises. HubSpot is the SMB player. The major differences with HubSpot is that just like Marketo, it's going to have the integrated CMS, as part of their layer, but then they are also going to be much richer from the sales customer service perspective as well. Marketo is going to rely on other CRM components, other vendors for those capabilities. Overall, I guess that the whole model, the data layers that you have, they are much leaner, much easier. So that's why it is easier to learn as well as customize compared to Marketo and Pardot. They might be slightly harder to customize, harder to learn as well. But again, just because they are slightly more enterprise solution, HubSpot is more of the SMB solution designed to be easier implementation. Now, Eloqua, I would say that is going to have the same enterprise grade capabilities as your Marketo Pardot for the most part. So they are going to be fairly comparable. So I'm not going to get into every single point here. But if you are more interested, then you can check the YouTube video about Eloqua or just ping me. I'll be more than happy to point you to that video link. Active Campaign is going to be slightly more SMB product, much smaller than HubSpot. So the number of layers that you are going to find inside Active Campaign are not going to be as detailed. So now let's touch on some of the marketing claims. So here, for example, they have claimed that custom objects, they are saying that expand your data model by creating custom objects that are unique to your business needs. These can be synchronized between Marketo Engage and your CRM for data consistency. and can be used to track details, such as a lead, products, and areas of interest. Most marketing automation systems struggle with the object hierarchies. Even if you can create custom objects, Marketo is most likely to have enterprise object model, as it's proven with several enterprises. So now there are several layers in this comment. Number one is they are right that some systems that we have in the market, the parent child hierarchy that they have is extremely tricky to work with. They are not going to have the real world relationships. And that's where, when you are going to have real heavy, thick enterprise use cases, that's where you will struggle a lot with those. But there is a difference. For example, let's say if you look at Marketo, Marketo is designed for marketing automation. In general, the object hierarchies in the marketing automation world are going to be much easier because they don't necessarily impact the core operational transactional layer. When you look at the transactional systems, they are much harder. They are going to have much more implications. Here, when you augment the core object layer, you are not going to have as much implications. So you can do pretty much whatever you want. You can have any structure as you like. Sometimes that might have implications on the insights that you are going to get from this. But for the most part, marketing automation does not have as much impact as you are going to find that inside your transactional layer. But at the same time, when you look at the integration of Marketo with the underlying CRM systems. So for example, let's say if you are using Marketo with HubSpot as the CRM, I don't know why you would use that, but let's assume that some companies, they want to use marketing automation for Marketo, and then they want to use HubSpot as their core sales CRM. If you are going to do that, mapping the objects are going to be much harder. So in this case, I think what they are referring to is either your Salesforce or Microsoft, they are going to have the same object model that you will be able to integrate. Now, if the underlying system does not support the object hierarchies, then you are going to find challenges in mapping those. So it's not that obviously you need these capabilities from the Marketo perspective, but that is not the only thing you need. You need far more than that, and that's where your CRM needs to be compatible with those hierarchies. So now moving on to the next comment, which is the custom fields. So they are saying custom fields add an additional layer of granularity to your profiles and data objects, with custom fields to capture data types that are uniquely important to your line of business, unique data types. This would be interesting, but depending upon limitations imposed. So here, for the most part, 90% of the systems that we have in the market, they will be able to accommodate custom fields. Custom fields are not as hard as the real data objects and the hierarchy of those data objects. So that's not a big deal. Most systems are going to be able to do that. So I think I'm not going to worry about that comment as much. Then they are talking about embedded integrations. So they are saying leverage pre-built integrations with the most popular data enrichment vendors, such as Clearbit, ZoomInfo, Ringlead, LeadGenius, LeadSpace, and Discover.org. Now, in these cases, for example, let's say if you look at Clearbit. Now, Clearbit is owned by HubSpot. So I don't know if they might still be aligned with Marketo, or they might be selling in the installations where Marketo is going to be there. And that could be a very interesting mix, because in general, HubSpot would like to have HubSpot there when Clearbit is going to be present. But for the most part, these integrations are going to be extremely important, especially when you talk about scenarios such as your ABM, account-based marketing in those cases, or if you are doing any sort of nurturing campaigns, or you are doing lead generation using your intent data, not Intel, intent data. If you're doing that, then obviously you would require this data as well as these actions. Then, yeah, so I don't have much to add here, so I'll keep moving on the next page. So here we are talking about native CRM integrations, and they have a comment that the bidirectional connection between Marketo Engage and the most popular CRMs on the market ensures that marketing and sales data stay in sync. Now, they might have the CRM integrations, but there are other systems that are also going to have CRM integrations. But generally, this integration, it's hard to rely on that because depending upon your process model, data model, for the most part, the integrations between CRM and marketing automation, they are not as difficult. So you are probably going to be okay there. I don't see much issue there with this particular integration, not just with Marketo, but with other systems as well. And they are saying the native integrations are easy to configure and maintain, giving you automated updates between Marketo Engage and your CRM that includes granular insights into objects such as your lead, account, and contact opportunities. But the biggest differentiator here is the number of records that they are able to manage. They are saying at a scale of 200,000 records per hour. That's a lot in general. And that's where you are going to experience a little bit of slowness with the other smaller systems if you're using that. And then they are saying up to 2 million per day. That's a lot of volume. And that's where the whole enterprise functionality, enterprise workload, it is designed for that. Then they are saying separate databases, create separate databases, each with its own leads that can't be mixed with the other partitions. So the way their product is designed for the enterprise segmentation, and some companies are going to have that need as well because they are looking for the completely separate security workflow for each of these brands or the database instances that they are going to use. So they are saying create separate databases. And again, this might not be possible with many vendors in the market. That's a real beauty. And this is where you are going to have the real enterprise capabilities when you need to segment the security permissions across these instances, when you cannot afford to share some of the branding things that you have with the other divisions or whatever workflow that you want to enable there. When you are going to have different permissions for different division, that's where this is going to be really. So they are saying create separate databases, each with its own leads that can be mixed with other partition. This is critical for data privacy, that is right, and compliance. In many companies, this is not possible with most CRMs in the market. That is right, only the enterprise ones have such capabilities. Then they have workspaces, and they are saying keep marketing assets. So this is going to be your DAM functionality, such as your programs, landing pages, emails, and more in separate areas. And then they are saying users must be given access rights to each workspace. So you have user level permission, and I think we might have screenshots for those. So these permissions are going to be enabled at the user level. And again, when you look at systems such as HubSpot, which is going to be the next immediate comparison, and maybe ActiveCampaign, they all are going to have very limited number of workflow security layers. You might find these layers, for example, let's say Pardot or with Eloqua, but for the most part, they are probably not going to have separate databases. So that's where the real differentiator is for Marketo. Okay, so we have some more comments here. So they are saying create, automate, and streamline, and we are still on the marketing claims. Promotions and engagement for webinars, virtual and in-person events. So they are able to capture both of those, and that's where I guess the real power is going to be of this. Program templates for pre, mid, and post event engagement ensure you can scale and optimize your live and digital event programs. Again, I would be careful in some of the comments here. So, for example, when you talk about the real time engagement, that's where you are going to need tools such as your Braze. I don't know if Marketo is going to have the real time interaction capabilities when you look at the real time experience within an asset. So this is going to be real time, but this is probably not going to be within an asset. So that's where the real distinction is. So pay attention there. Then they have program templates, create or clone multi-step engagement programs to manage invitations, registration, attendance, and follow-up all within Marketo Engage. So they are able to do all of that inside those program templates. Then they have trigger real-time engagement at live events with schedule updates, SMS alerts, or connect to event apps like Cvent. So yes, you are creating the engagement, but again, it's not the in-asset engagement. That is there is a real difference there when you talk about in-video engagement, in-asset engagement versus the real-time engagement between the events. So even though they are using the same buzzwords, which is real-time engagement, the real-time engagement in both cases could be different. Then you have rich customer data. The platform supports polling, surveys, chat, hand raising, and Q&A to engage attendees, personalize follow-up content, and trigger deeper engagement. And that's where I guess the whole webinar functionality is really deep. And if you want that webinar functionality to be intertwined with your marketing automation instance, then this is probably going to be the right tool. Then you have the integrated scoring and alerts. The integrated scoring and alerts, in this case, they are saying leverage webinar engagement data to adjust your lead and account scoring models, update sales routing, and trigger sales alerts, improve qualification. Again, these claims are going to be very similar to HubSpot as well. I don't know how different this is going to be. The difference is going to be in terms of the number of layers that you have in the scoring algorithm. That's where the real differentiation is going to be. Otherwise, it's okay. So overall, I guess when you look at the screens, that's where it's going to feel a little dated. And then the users, even the recent ones, have confirmed that the UI is still very dated in general. Adobe has not invested as much on the product. So that is the real drawback, but as such, it's very feature rich. So if you care for features, and again, after some time, once you start using, then UI may not be as relevant. When you see this first time, generally, obviously, your preference is going to be for slightly prettier UI. This is going to be slightly. This is the screenshot for the permission that we were talking about, and overall, the permissions are enabled, on each of the records, which is going to be at the user level. But then you are going to have these workspaces as well. And the examples of the workspaces are going to be, for example, Center of Excellence, North America, AMIA. Those are going to be different workspaces, and the permission layer is going to be for each of those. They are going to have their own set of permissions, which is generally very hard to do in the other systems. I don't have anything else that I want to touch on this. So now we are on to the customer stories. So here we are going to look at how customers are using this, and we are going to critique, every single claim that they have made just a little bit. So they are saying in the 5 years since, and this is coming from Price FX, I guess, case study that they have on their website. And in this case, they have used two different products, Adobe Marketo Engage, as well as the interactive webinars. So here it's very clear that they are going to need another add-on for the webinars. So do a little bit of research in terms of what is the contracting arrangement with this webinar tool, whether they have the real webinar capabilities as part of the product or not. In this case, this is probably going to be a technology company. So that is another trend that we had discussed before as well, that in tech or SaaS, you are probably going to find Marketo a lot. In this particular case, they are saying in the 5 years since Matt Dowd joined pricing software company, this is a pricing software company, Price FX, he has been excited to see the difference his marketing contributions make for the company and its customers as the industry's first cloud native pricing software platform. So they are first cloud native pricing software platform as well. So Price FX works with some of the world's biggest companies in manufacturing, automotive, and other industries to help them gain visibility into pricing analysis, strategy, and management. So they are a pure play pricing engine, which is probably going to integrate with your ecom, maybe with ERP, depending upon where you are keeping your pricing and strategy as well. So they have a very different, interesting business model. In general, they are going to be very thick into those B2B processes. So for that, Marketo is a great fit. They are saying when this is probably another case study that they have. No, this is the same one. So they are saying when Pranek started the demand generation program at Price FX, she quickly recognized the importance of working across teams and bringing together operations, marketing, and sales to nurture prospects. So there's not much in that comment. With this marketing automation solution in place, marketers can easily manage complex marketing workflows and connect dozens of applications, including Salesforce CRM, to qualify leads and pass on to insights to sales teams. So again, the integration aspect is mentioned that they are probably using Salesforce CRM, which is probably going to be the most common scenario. With the introduction of Marketo Engage native webinar solution, they are saying native webinar solution, the marketing team now has all webinar information, and that's where the real power is going to be. If it is not native, then the integration might be trickier to manage in transferring the information with the traceability of information as well. Here, yeah, so I guess the only comment I'm going to have is this could be an add-on. So do a little bit of research in terms of how that add-on is structured. Then this is another case study, and this is Exo Nobel. And again, these brands are very global in nature. So in this case, this is the Netherlands brand. So they have roughly about 2,500 websites. Can you believe this? Across multiple content management systems, CMS. Many of those sites, including the most strategically important ones, are now moving to Adobe Experience sites. So I guess the CMS is where the real power is of this, and most companies that are going to use either Adobe Experience Manager or Magento, they are probably going to be on Marketo as well. So the beauty is, with the suite itself, especially when you are going to have very thick CMS processes. Then they're saying ExxonMobil is in the process of replacing 9 previous e-commerce platforms. Can you believe they were using 9? And in most cases, the reason why they are going to use these 9 e-commerce platforms, either they are going to have very different business model or transactions that cannot be managed with one system, or they must have grown because of acquisitions that they had these e-commerce platforms. Or the other possibility could be that they are a very decentralized organization, and because of that, everybody had their own freedom in buying whichever system they could buy. So those are different possibilities why they might have that, but that's a very common occurrence, that companies are going to have many instances of commerce platforms, and then they are going to look for something that can centralize, and that's where your Magento as well as Marketo, from the marketing automation perspective, the whole suite is going to be really powerful. So they wanted the B2B portal in general. Magento is very big on B2B. So that's going to be another differentiator. So if you are in the B2B industry, you are using Magento, then Marketo is probably going to make a lot of sense. Then they are saying ExxonMobil has onboarded 8 business units and sent 646 campaigns, a 30% year over year increase. However, since campaigns are based on a better understanding of customers, they are a lot more effective with a 4.2% higher email click-through rate. So again, I think the beauty is where you can consolidate all of this and the kind of workload that that you are able to manage inside the suite. That's where the real strength is in general of this platform. They are saying the biggest impact has been on email deliverability, which I would doubt that the platform itself is going to add any sort of value. In general, that is going to be the way you are going to implement, and obviously your domain reputation. That's what is going to dictate whether you are going to have impact on email deliverability or not. But seems like they seem to have increased, which is a great sign. You are going to see similar claims with the other platforms as well. But again, the email deliverability is not necessarily platform dependent. We have more accurate email addresses and far fewer emails go to spam. With more customers viewing our emails, we have a better idea of how they respond to the content. This helps us further optimize communications to create even higher impact experiences. Again, not much in that comment. Then we have one more case study here, again, very global in nature and super large organization. So in this case, they are doing roughly $22 billion in Germany. So that's how big this brand is. So they are saying scalability is critical for us. Experience Manager makes it possible for us to scale content creation and onboard our 4 divisions and local editing teams to keep up with expanding site content while maintaining branding control. And the whole the branding control aspect is going to be really critical for these global brands. Maintaining that in a centralized platform is trickier, especially if you're going to have so many different instances of CMSs, e-commerce, plus their marketing automation as well. And that's where when you are looking at these consolidation scenarios, Marketo is going to be a great fit. Today we manage 55 million pages. Can you believe this? 55 million pages across 65 websites in more than 30 languages. So that's the kind of skill that we are talking about, and that's where this is really powerful. They are saying Henkel uses Adobe real-time customer data platform to bundle the insights gained from the user experience into uniform profiles. So they have the CDP as well. And again, CDP is now majorly part of the CMS layer, as well as sometimes that could be marketing automation as well, depending upon how the architecture is. But based on the recent consolidation scenarios, for the most part, CDP now kind of belongs to these layers. So that's where you are going to find much value from the Adobe perspective, especially when you are looking at the whole personalization layer as well. If you want personalization layer to work, then your CDP processes are going to be far more intertwined with that as well. Then they are saying these are automatically enriched with each new interaction, which helps ensure that brands always have an overview of previous interactions and potential communication opportunities. Based on the history of interactions, Adobe Journey Orchestration allows Henkel to adopt all customer communications based on where customers are in their decision-making cycles. Then they are saying with Experience Cloud, Henkel successfully published over what 300 web domains from more than 30 brands in 40 countries. So again, the scale is where the play is for this platform. If you have this kind of scale, then this could be great. One more story. So this is the Kendall, and this is the IBM spinoff. But the spinoff itself was very big. In this case, we are talking about roughly $20 billion business. And here they are saying Adobe Experience Manager Assets serves as the global digital asset management platform for all digital channels, taking advantage of automatic tagging and cropping of images and video enabled by Adobe Sense AI capabilities. Again, that's a shiny widget, so I would not worry too much about that. But that could be helpful. I don't know how many DAM solutions we have in the market that might be able to do that. But for the most part, Adobe is really big on any of the creative workflows. So that's the value that you are getting. So then they have one more comment. So while their team members were excited by the prospect of building a new marketing technology platform, they were still supporting a $19 billion company. $19 billion company, that's how big this is, that had to continue normal operations for customers around the world. So this was a spin-off and they had to go live quickly, and that's the whole story. And they could do it fairly quickly, which is commendable. Generally, these implementations are going to be really big. So whatever they were able to do, I don't know if you will be able to do that as well, based on the scale and the planning that you are going to require. But this was a very interesting story. Then they are saying custom components, templates, content fragments enable non-technical content authors to create pages in less than an hour, a process that previously took a developer at least a day to complete. So that's going to be a real value. But again, I don't know how easy the components as well as the pages are going to be. In general, what I have heard in the community is that Marketo is a very technical platform in general. The other ones are going to be slightly easier, but some users complain about HubSpot as well. So you decide in terms of which is going to be easier. But in general, Marketo is much deeper technically, and they are going to require much higher development as well as consulting skills, even though this customer is claiming that it was easier than what they were doing before. Then they are saying using a dynamic news room experience, and that's going to be again, one critical aspect that they are able to manage their entire marketing team. So they are saying the communication team has created and published over 200 press releases and articles without marketing or developer involvement. Because of this, customers continuously benefit from fresh, relevant content across industries and topics critical to their business. Okay, so one more big brand here, which is Western Digital. And again, this is going to be massive, massive company. And in this case, they are saying the goal was to create a true 360-degree view of customers, which allows teams at Western Digital to make data-driven decisions. Again, not much in the comment, so I'll keep moving here. The unified platform would accommodate targeting, segmentation, content, campaign automation, and allow Western Digital to personalize content in real time. Again, not much. They are saying tapping Adobe Experience Manager, Assets, Analytics, Audience Manager, Marketo, Workfront, and other solutions. They have eliminated data silos and connected a myriad of data points. So again, consolidation is where the real play is. That's what they are saying here. They are saying then they have, in the end, the new era of personalization was born with 39 major sites and various microsites containing upwards of 44,000 assets. So again, pay attention to the volume. I think that's where the play is for this. Um, yeah, this I'm not going to touch on this comment. I'll keep moving here. So here, some comments from the users, and this is coming from Reddit pages. This is roughly 3 years ago. They are saying, no, Marketo is highly technical and has a much higher bar of entry. Pardot requires less technical ability and can be learned in a weekend or week or more or less to be functional. That could be true, for the most part. Pardot is a simpler product, even though it is very enterprise grade. But in general, it does not have as deep capabilities as Marketo. Marketo is going to have a lot more overall when you look at the complete suite, especially when you pay attention to DAM, the advertising cloud, the personalization, the CDP. It has a lot more in general, and that's why it is going to be it is going to take a longer to learn. And they are saying Adobe support is one of the worst support staff. And again, when you deal with any enterprise product, you are probably not going to find as good support. So make sure when you buy any enterprise product, you have appetite for consulting as well as support from the third parties. That's where you are going to have much better experience. Otherwise, it's always going to result into this experience. So one more comment here. 1 year ago, they are saying, I find Marketo to be a superior product to all other platforms. I have used Eloqua, Pardot. I think they are saying Parody, but that must be Pardot, HubSpot. Then it has a great community with many resources. I love how work, programs, and assets are organized. So in this case, they obviously love this platform. And again, if you want slightly more consolidated experience for those, they are probably going to like this. So that would be the case why this user is liking it. So then they have a comment here. I remember it was getting pretty quickly expensive with the database size, and I think this comment is for HubSpot. And HubSpot does have very tricky pricing. I don't have enough information to be able to comment on Marketo pricing. In general, HubSpot is ends up being one of the most expensive, even though the initial version is probably going to be free. Then they have some more comment. Just don't judge the ancient and inconsistent UI. So they are saying that don't look at the UI, even though it's not going to be as pretty, but it is functional. So again, if you have those enterprise use cases, this is probably going to be one of the best products. And I expected there to be more enhancements to the platform when Adobe did take over, and that is right. They have not done as much improvement as what people wanted, such as AI-powered suggestions and enhanced reporting. But that is probably very far because right now they don't even have really compelling UI as you are going to find with slightly new forms. Then they are saying needs to have better integration with major CRMs to better track revenue without having to navigate to outside sources and learn more systems. Again, this is going to be tricky. The integrations are always tricky. So you are going to get what you are going to get based on the pre-baked integrations. So here, again, this is more of the process issue, data issue, implementation issue. So you need to create your own integration if that is going to need more than what your pre-baked integrations are going to. So integration is always a different topic, I guess. So yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to have any comment on that. So here they are saying inability to trigger email journey based off of product usage for my B2B SaaS org. Some competitors can do this, but systems are so much worse. I think they are saying their systems are so much worse. We even have an open API, and Marketo still can't trigger all of the desired events. It forces us to have marketing campaigns in two different systems. Again, that does seem like an implementation issue. So it's not necessarily on the product itself. So make sure, again, you are talking to experts who know what they are doing inside the system. Otherwise, you are probably going to have these issues. So one user review we have here, and this user review is coming from 2024, so fairly recent. And here they are saying products used within Adobe Experience Cloud, Marketo Engage. So they are using a lot Experience Manager, which is the CMS. Then they have the analytics, and then they have the advertising cloud. And targeted is going to be that personalization product, Adobe Commerce, which is the Magento Commerce. By integrating marketing, analytics, and content management tools seamlessly, this makes it very effective and user friendly. I love that it goes deep into customer habits so that I can create my own customized marketing campaigns. It is too expensive and complicated. The numerous options can be confusing, particularly towards people who are not very conversant and with technology. So again, when you are dealing with the enterprise products, you are probably going to have these issues. So again, dedicate some time for training, budget for training. You are probably going to need that. The learning curve is steep. Again, that's given with any of these products, with the enterprise grade products. And you'll find that a lot of time and effort go into getting to grips with all the tools available here. There is the issue of cost, which might become a challenge, especially for smaller businesses or startups, operating on limited budgets. So that's definitely going to be a factor. Again, when you have the enterprise product, be prepared to pay for licensing as well as consulting and training. That's given. Again, that's not on them. They have one more comment here, which is saying Adobe marketing campaigns for Marketo Engage, simplified content management using Adobe Experience Manager, and advertising optimization on multiple channels with Adobe Advertising Cloud are some of the things it does. Moreover, personalized experiences through its use in Adobe Target. Again, there's not much in the comments, so I'm not going to talk much about that. And that's it for the presentation. And again, if you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every week. So, come back next week, same time, and we are going to have another vendor or the solution. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.